welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. So, what's in store for you here tonight? Folks, tonight's movie I got a chance to check out actually a few months ago, but I just had so many things coming in around the holidays for me to watch and review that this kind of got put on the back burner. But it works out really, really well because in the last couple of months, I've been talking a lot about romantic comedy horror, and the movie we're talking tonight definitely falls into that category. So tonight in movie reviews, folks, I am talking Your Monster. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right on into things. If you haven't seen the trailer for this one before, this tells the story of a young woman named Laura who, after recently being broken up with her boyfriend, is dealing with a cancer diagnosis and decides to move back into her mother's house. When she gets there, though, she finds out that a monster has already taken up this house as his own, and now Laura will have to contend not only with her ex-boyfriend re-entering her life, her cancer, but now a monster to complicate her life even more. And there it is, folks. That is Your Monster. Now, like I said, this does fall into the realm of romantic comedy horror. We've talked a lot about that, including films like Heart Eyes, Companion, and even The Parenting. But what sets this movie apart from the rest of those, for sure, is going to be the focus of the story itself. And all three of those other films I mentioned, and countless other ones that we've looked into, they typically take a premise of a typical romantic comedy film, and then again, you just throw the horror on into it. But this time around, the story for it is just a little bit more serious. As we said, Laura, our main character, played by Melissa Barrera, is dealing with a new cancer diagnosis. And so a lot of the movie is her kind of working through all the emotions, all the pain, everything that comes in to dealing with something like this in your life. And with that, there's like a few different ways you could absolutely approach how this story ends up playing out. And I think it's a good idea to talk about all three of those. The first, like I mentioned, is just the straightforward romantic comedy approach that Laura moves back into her mom's house. Turns out there's this monster here, played by Tommy Dewey in an amazing performance. And it's about these two roommates who are an odd couple, of course, and trying to make it through this like hard time in Laura's life as her and this monster grow closer. And they deal with the typical things like jealousy, self-confidence, the romantic interest being hinted at and not actually followed through on until later on in the film itself. And then ultimately realizing that the monster is the love that Laura needs. Now, if you take the movie at face value like that, I do feel that it'll come up a bit on the short side because it's definitely funny in parts for sure. And the romantic elements of it, talking about Laura's relationship with her ex-boyfriend Jacob, who is now putting on this amazing play that Laura very much helped him put together. And then the relationship that Laura has with the monster and that starting to build and build and build over the course of this film. They're great elements for sure, but you'll find yourself missing a bit in the comedic side of things. So on that aspect, looking at it straightforward, it doesn't work out the best way. But I'm not convinced, obviously, that that was the intent here of this story, especially when you look a little bit more into the background of the story of Your Monster from the writer and director Carolyn Lindy, and talking about her own experiences dealing with cancer and with an ex-boyfriend at the time, and all these things that she was going through. I think one of the other two ideas I want to discuss is probably what we were really going for. Now, the first one is that it's dealing with a lot of mental illness, that between having this person that Laura was just dedicated and devoted to and willing to just put all of her all into it, like she helped Jacob put this play together that's getting this Broadway debut. No matter with all of that there, the moment that that person breaks your heart and they leave, that's going to cause some very heavy-handed stress to the heart and to the mind. And you combine that with learning that you also have cancer as well too, and starting to deal with the treatments with that. I think any sensible person would probably feel that your mental health is going to suffer from that. And therefore, you might go and start putting a safe space, a respite, a reprieve from everything you're dealing with in something like an imaginary friend, like the monster. And so it makes sense as we go through certain moments of the film and Laura's dealing with heightened stress and high emotion, whether it's incidents with her best friend, her ex-boyfriend, her own health, her own self-value, her self-worth, all of that. That's when the monster appears to really like encourage her and to push her out of this comfort space that she's in, the safe space that she's kind of behind to protect herself and actually do something with. And again, all of this really starts to happen the moment that Laura does find out that Jacob is putting on this play and that Laura wouldn't be involved in any of that. It's kind of like that is the snapping point. That's the breaking point. That's what's tipping the scales to really send her down this path to where she starts to see and hear things that really aren't there. And so the monster represents her own inner psyche and her having to constantly push herself and find herself in love with herself again and actually believe in herself throughout this movie. And on that aspect, it's phenomenal. And it's heartbreaking in a lot of places as well, too, because the first time you watch the movie through, you might take it as the romantic comedy horror film, and it doesn't have as much of an impact. But then when you get to the end of the film, and you see what you might either say is a twist, or that might just be another way to cover up, again, the first iteration of the film that I'm talking about. But if you get past that and rewatch it again, all these trials and tribulations that Laura goes through, it's hard to think about all that and not shed a tear in the least bit, when she finds out what her best friend has been doing behind her own back, when this play that she did so much to help this person she loves put together and is just thrown back into her face, when the monster is trying to point out that she doesn't have to be okay with the way that folks have treated her, and that she needs to acknowledge that it's not okay if she's going to be able to actually move on from it and look back at it in a good light. Like, all these things are happening, and it makes it very, very clear that Laura is talking to herself. At least to me, it very much seems that. And it's not okay scene, which was heartbreaking, just absolutely ripped me to shreds watching that one there. Um, Again, that takes on such a different context watching that scene and what immediately happens after when you know the ending of this film. And it's just so powerful, just so powerful. Melissa Barrera and Tommy Dewey, like, I saw all the press like leading up to like the limited release this movie had and all the positive things people were saying about it afterwards. But you really, really have to focus on those two because they are an amazing pair. Melissa Barrera continues to shine in Hollywood regardless of the position she's been placed in. I haven't seen her in something yet that I have not enjoyed. And Tommy Dewey was just the perfect complement to an actress like that, to where the two of them are able to bounce off each other and just change from serious to comedic to dramatic, whatever we need, in just the snap of a finger. It's phenomenal work between the two leads here. And that takes me to the third iteration that I think is a possibility here as well. Now, in real life, Carolyn Lindy, was able to get through this battle, and as we see, even with the release of a film like this, she's conquered these trials and tribulations that she's gone through as a real person, and has been able to let us in on her pain by watching this movie. But sometimes when you're telling your own story, sometimes you're going to take a different turn than the way it turned out for you. And when I was watching this film, with some friends of mine in the watch parties that we do on a weekly basis, one of my friends, Lemon Twist, if you're watching this, going to give you your credit for it, but she had pointed out that what if the monster is a manifestation of Laura's cancer returning? Because, and I hate to throw it out there, but this is one spoiler that I kind of have to do, but the cancer goes away. Laura does end up getting through the cancer, but what if the whole thing is the cancer is really the monster? So it's there, it's around, and there's a point in the story, just like any romantic comedy, to where if our heroine, if our lead has another love interest, that there's going to be some big fight that's going to keep them apart for a little bit until other person shows back up, and then they're able to confess their feelings and everything. And that sort of thing does happen here in Your Monster. But another way to look at that is, what if the monster is actually a manifestation of Laura's cancer? And the fact that the monster does come back is also representing that her cancer has returned. Because given the ending of the film. And to be honest, I mean, I am not going to spoil that, but it's a pretty bleak ending in my opinion, honestly. And I'm sure there's some folks who look at it differently. I looked at it very bleakly, though. It's hard not to see how you can't entertain the idea that the monster does represent Laura's cancer, because it's this thing that just rips you apart and is monstrous and is like just always there with you in every part of your life, invading everything, and then it's just gone, and then suddenly it's back again. Like, you obviously would have a hard time dealing with something like that. So it seems like one of those three possibilities is at work here in your monster. If you've watched this, because this film is available on Max for free right now, I'm curious where you fall. Is it just a straight up romantic comedy that we're watching here? Is this a case to where we're watching Laura's mental state decline and decline, decline over the film? Is this a case where the monster represents her cancer? So I'm curious what you think. Let me know in the comment section here if this is one you were digging. Did you like the music? Did you like the storyline and where it was going here with it? Let me know that, folks. And of course, make sure to get subscribed so you can stay on top of all the content that I'm dropping for you. Best way to do that is to get subscribed to my link tree at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio only versions of the show, to my letterbox page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for full episodes, movie news, and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, folks. I got more great reviews coming your way. We're going to finish up season 2 of Mayfair Witches. We are jumping into films like The Woman in the Yard, Death of a Unicorn, Hell of a Party, Borderline. I got so much good stuff coming your way. I don't want y'all to miss any of that. But that is it tonight, y'all. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember, if you're in Denver, get a ticket for Series Fest so you can see the world premiere of my show that I'm in, Better Luck Than Chuck. You don't want to miss any of that, folks. But that's it tonight. Once again, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.